you seriously still doing this? My sister Nora's voice cut through the family dinner like glass. She stared at me across the table, her fork suspended in mid-air. You're wasting your life with that stupid art stuff, Grace. Everyone else is moving forward, getting real careers. When are you going to grow up and get an actual job? The room fell silent. My mom stopped eating. Dad cleared his throat uncomfortably. My younger brother Kyle looked down at his plate, avoiding eye contact. But Nora kept staring at me with those cold, judgmental eyes that made me feel about 2 inches tall. It's not stupid, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. I've been working really hard. Working hard. She laughed, sharp and cruel. Grace, you're 28 years old. You live in a tiny apartment, you work part-time at a coffee shop, and you spend the rest of your time painting pictures nobody wants to buy. That's not a career. That's a hobby you're too scared to give up. Mom finally spoke, but not to defend me. Nora has a point, sweetheart. Maybe it's time to think about something more practical. Art is wonderful, but you need stability. I felt something crack inside me. My own family had just crushed everything I'd worked for. My name is Grace, and that was the night everything changed. I left dinner early, ignoring Nora's smirk as I grabbed my coat. The drive home was a blur. My hands shook on the steering wheel, and tears blurred the streetlights into streaks of gold. When I finally got to my apartment, I collapsed on the couch and stared at the paintings covering my walls. 5 years. I'd spent 5 years building my portfolio, attending gallery shows, submitting to competitions. 5 years of late nights, cramped hands and paint-stained clothes. 5 years of believing that if I just worked hard enough, someone would notice. But tonight had shown me the truth. My family didn't see an artist. They saw a failure. A grown woman playing pretend while everyone else got real jobs and real lives. Nora had her corporate position, her designer suits, her downtown apartment. She had everything that mattered to them. And what did I have? Student debt from art school and a closet full of rejection letters. I picked up my phone and scrolled through social media. Nora had already posted a photo from dinner with the caption, "Family time." Like nothing had happened. That's when I saw it. An email notification. The Sterling Foundation International Art Competition. I opened it with shaking hands. The Sterling Foundation competition was legendary. Every artist knew about it. $1 million grand prize. A solo exhibition at their New York gallery. Representation from top agencies. Winners went from unknown to famous overnight. The deadline was in 3 months. 3 months to create something that could change my life. The application fee alone was $200, money I barely had. But as I sat there in my small apartment, looking at Nora's smiling face on my phone screen, something shifted inside me. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need to make them understand. What I needed was to prove them wrong. Not to them but to myself. I needed to know that these 5 years hadn't been wasted. That I wasn't the joke they thought I was. I opened my laptop and started the application. My hands steadied as I typed. For the first time in hours I felt something other than hurt. I felt determined. The competition theme was transformation. Artists could interpret it however they wanted. As I stared at the blank form, an idea began forming. Something raw. Something personal. Something that would pour everything I'd felt tonight onto canvas. I saved the application as a draft and walked to my easel. 3 months to create my masterpiece. The next morning I called out sick from the coffee shop. Then I did the same the next day and the day after that. My boss threatened to fire me, and I told him to go ahead. I had enough saved to last 2 months if I was careful. My apartment became a studio. I pushed my furniture against the walls and set up my largest canvas in the center of the room. 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide. Big enough to make a statement. I started with sketches. Dozens of them. Pages and pages of ideas, concepts, emotions translated into lines and shapes. Some were angry, violent slashes of charcoal. Others were soft, almost invisible. I was searching for something. On the fourth day my phone rang. Nora. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hey, so I heard you quit your job, she said, not even bothering with hello. Mom's worried about you. She thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. I didn't quit. I'm taking time off. For what? More painting. She sighed dramatically. Grace, this is exactly what I was talking about. You're so stuck in this fantasy that you can't see reality. You need income. You need a plan. I have a plan. Yeah. What is it? I looked at my blank canvas. You'll see. I hung up before she could respond. The painting consumed me. I worked 18-hour days, stopping only to sleep or eat whatever was quickest. My hands cramped. My back ached. Paint dried in my hair and under my fingernails. I stopped answering calls from my family. The only thing that mattered was the canvas. The concept had finally crystallized. I was painting transformation, but not the pretty kind. Not a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. I was painting the painful, ugly process of breaking apart and rebuilding yourself. The background was dark, almost black, with fragments of lighter colors breaking through like cracks in ice. In the center was a figure, gender ambiguous, caught mid-transformation. Half of the body was dissolving into shadows, while the other half was forming from gold and crimson light. Around the figure I painted the things that hold us back. Hands reaching from the darkness, pulling at the dissolving half. Mouths whispering words I rendered as visible sound waves. Chains made of expectations, doubt, fear. But from the forming half, wings were beginning to emerge. Phoenix wings burning and being reborn. I called it breaking point. 2 words that summed up everything I felt. Every brushstroke felt like a battle, but I kept pushing forward. With 6 weeks until the deadline, I ran out of money. My landlord left increasingly angry voicemail messages about rent. The electricity company sent a warning notice. I had $37 in my bank account and a half-finished painting. I could have asked my parents for help, but that would mean admitting Nora was right. So instead I sold things. My TV went first, then my nice winter coat, then my laptop. I kept only what I needed to survive and paint. My best friend Beatrice came by with groceries. She took one look at me and the apartment and didn't say anything, just unpacked the bags. There was real food, not just ramen. You look terrible, she said, not unkindly. I'm fine. When's the last time you showered? I honestly couldn't remember. Yesterday. Try 3 days ago. I can smell you from here. She pointed at the bathroom. Go. Clean yourself up. I'll make you actual food. Under the hot water, I finally let myself feel how exhausted I was. But as I watched the paint-tinted water swirl down the drain, I felt something else too. Pride. The painting was almost done. Was good. Maybe the best thing I'd ever created. Beatrice stayed for dinner. We sat on the floor since I'd sold my table, eating pasta with marinara sauce. She kept glancing at the painting, her expression unreadable. It's intense, she finally said. Too intense. No. It's perfect. It's painful to look at, but I can't look away. She set down her fork. Is this because of what Nora said? I told her about the dinner. Beatrice had been my friend since art school. She was one of the few people who understood. Partly. But it's bigger than that. It's about every time someone made me feel small. Every rejection letter. Every person who asked when I was going to get a real job. I looked at the painting. It's about deciding your worth more than their opinions. You're entering it in sterling, aren't you? How'd you know? Because it's exactly the kind of piece that wins competitions like that. It's raw. It's honest. She smiled. It's brilliant, Grace. Even if you don't win, this painting proves you're a real artist. But I needed to win. I had 4 weeks left to finish and submit. The final touches took longer than I expected. Every time I thought the painting was done, I'd see something that needed adjustment. A color that wasn't quite right. A line that needed to be softer or harder. Beatrice came by again the week before the deadline. You need to stop, she said, grabbing my brush. It's done. If you keep messing with it, you're going to ruin it. But the shadow here is perfect. Grace, look at me. She waited until I met her eyes. It's done. It's incredible. You need to let it go. She was right. Letting go meant submitting it. And submitting it meant waiting. Waiting to see if I'd been good enough. What if I don't win? I whispered. Then you don't win. But you'll have created something amazing. She squeezed my shoulder. But between you and me, I think you're going to win. The next day, I carefully photographed the painting from every angle. I filled out the rest of the application. I wrote my artist statement explaining the concept and process. And then, with my hand shaking slightly, I clicked submit. The confirmation email arrived instantly. Results would be announced in 8 weeks. 8 weeks of waiting. I got my job back at the coffee shop, though my boss made it clear I was on thin ice. I picked up extra shifts to catch up on bills. Life returned to a kind of normal, except I checked my email obsessively. My family started talking to me again. Mom called to check in. Cal sent me funny videos. Dad transferred $100 to my account with no explanation. Nora, though, stayed silent. 2 weeks after I submitted the painting, she finally texted me. Mom says you're doing better. Glad you came to your senses about the job thing. She thought I'd given up. She thought getting my coffee shop job back meant I'd admitted she was right. The urge to tell her about the competition was overwhelming, but I held back. Yeah, I'm doing fine, I texted back. 3 weeks passed. Then 4. Then 5. I started to lose hope. Maybe my submission had gotten lost. Maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. Then, on a Tuesday morning while I was making someone's complicated latte, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Is this Grace Holloway? Yes, this is she. This is Patricia Chen from the Sterling Foundation. I'm calling about your submission to our international competition. My hands started shaking. I had to set down the milk pitcher. Yes. Congratulations. Your piece, Breaking Point, has been selected as one of our 5 finalists. We'd like to invite you to New York for the final judging and gala exhibition. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Patricia explained the details. Travel expenses covered. Hotel provided. The final judging would take place in 3 weeks. All 5 finalists would have their work displayed, and the winner would be announced at the gala. Ms. Holloway, are you still there? Yes. Sorry. I'll be there. Thank you so much. I hung up and immediately burst into tears. My manager asked if I was okay. I told him I needed to take a break, stumbled to the back room and called Beatrice. I made it, I sobbed. I'm a finalist. I made it to the finals. Her scream of joy was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I didn't tell my family. Not yet. I wanted to wait until after the final judging. But keeping the secret was torture. Nora made it harder. She'd started being nicer to me, which somehow felt worse. She'd send me job postings. She'd suggest I take business classes. 2 weeks before New York, Beatrice helped me find something to wear to the gala. We scoured thrift stores until we found a simple black dress that fit perfectly. She lent me her good heels and a silver necklace. You're going to win, she said, zipping up the dress. I can feel it. There are 4 other finalists. All of them probably amazing artists. But none of them are you. None of them poured their soul into their painting the way you did. She turned me toward the mirror. Look at yourself. You're not the same person who sat at that dinner while Nora tore you down. You're stronger now. She was right. I barely recognized myself. Not just because of the dress but because of the look in my eyes. Determined, fierce, unbreakable. New York was overwhelming. I'd never been to a city that big. The Sterling Gallery was in Manhattan, a beautiful building with marble floors and soaring ceilings. My painting hung in the main exhibition hall alongside the other 4 finalists. The other artists were incredible, but then people started viewing the paintings, and I watched them stop at mine, watched them stare. It's raw, I heard one woman say. It's like looking at someone's pain and hope at the same time. The gala was that evening. 500 people packed into the gallery. I felt wildly out of place in my thrift store dress, but Beatrice had made me promise to hold my head high. The other finalists were friendly, congratulating each other. At 8 o'clock, the director of the Sterling Foundation took the stage. She thanked everyone for coming and explained how difficult the judging had been. All 5 of these artists are exceptionally talented. But ultimately, we had to choose the piece that spoke to us most profoundly. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Beatrice grabbed my hand, squeezing tight. The winner of this year's Sterling Foundation International Art Competition is... The director paused. Grace Holloway for her painting Breaking Point. The room erupted in applause. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't believe what I'd just heard. Beatrice was screaming and hugging me. Someone gently pushed me toward the stage. I walked up in a daze. The director handed me a check. $1 million. I stared at it, at the zeros at my name. Congratulations, she said, smiling warmly. Your work is truly exceptional. The next 24 hours were a blur. Interviews with art magazines. Photographers taking pictures. Gallery owners and collectors pressing business cards into my hands. My phone exploded with notifications. A respected art dealer named Vincent Bradford wanted to represent me. Not just for this painting but for my entire career. He talked about exhibitions, commissions, opportunities I'd never dared to dream about. Your work has emotional depth that's rare, he said over coffee. I see a very bright future for you. We discussed terms. He'd handle everything. Marketing, gallery placements, connecting me with collectors. He wanted to schedule my first solo exhibition for 6 months from now. Can you do that? He asked. Yes. No hesitation. Absolutely. After he left, I sat in my hotel room staring at the check. $1 million. It didn't feel real. But I had proof. It was time to tell my family. I flew home the next day. I decided not to tell anyone I was coming back early. I wanted to show up and watch their faces. But first I had a stop to make. Nora had always talked about her dream car. A red Audi convertible. She'd shown me pictures. Talked about how she'd buy one once she made partner at her firm. She probably wouldn't buy it for years. But I could buy it now. And I did. I walked into the dealership, check in hand, and pointed at the exact model Nora wanted. The salesman didn't take me seriously at first. But when I showed him the check, his attitude changed immediately. I'll need to verify the funds, of course, he said, suddenly very polite. Of course. 2 hours later, I drove off the lot in a brand new red Audi convertible. Top was down. The sun was shining. I drove straight to my parents' house. It was Sunday, which meant family dinner. Everyone would be there. Perfect. I parked the Audi right in front of the house, top still down, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. Then I walked up to the door and let myself in. Grace. Mom appeared from the kitchen, surprised. I didn't know you were coming. Where's your car? Out front. Smiled. Is everyone here? Yes, we're just about to eat. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. Can you get everyone to come outside for a minute? Mom called for Dad, Kyle, and Nora. They all filed out, giving me strange looks. What's going on? Nora asked, arms crossed. Did your car break down? No, my car's fine. I just wanted to show you guys something. I gestured toward the street. That's my new car. They all turned to look at the Audi. There was a moment of confused silence. That's... Nora's voice trailed off. Her face had gone pale. That's the exact car I wanted. I know. I remembered you talking about it. Grace, how? Mom started. Did you take out a loan? Because that's very irresponsible if you can't afford the payments. I didn't take out a loan. I paid cash. More confused silence. Kyle spoke first. How did you pay cash for an Audi? Did you win the lottery? Something like that. I pulled out my phone and showed them the announcement on the Sterling Foundation's website. Winner, Grace Holloway. Prize, $1 million. They stared at the screen, then at me, then at the car, then back at me. This is a joke, Nora said, but her voice shook. You're joking. No joke. I won. With my art. The thing you said was a waste of time. Dad was the first to react. He pulled me into a huge hug, laughing. Grace, this is incredible. Kyle was jumping around, asking a million questions. Mom was crying, apologizing for not believing in me. But Nora just stood there, staring at the car. Her dream car. The one she'd talked about for years. The one I just bought without blinking. Say something, I said to her. She looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Respect. Congratulations, she said stiffly. That's really impressive. Thank you. I held out the car keys to her. Want to take it for a drive? Everyone went silent. Nora looked at the keys, then at me, suspicious. Why? Because you're my sister. And despite everything, I don't hate you. I pressed the keys into her hand. Come on. Just a quick drive. She took the keys. We got in the car, me in the passenger seat, her behind the wheel. She started the engine and it purred to life. For a few minutes we just drove in silence. I'm sorry, she finally said. For what I said at dinner. For always making you feel like your art didn't matter. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. I didn't want you to struggle. I wanted you to be secure. I know. But that's not your choice to make. It's mine. She nodded, tears starting to slide down her cheeks. I'm proud of you. The next few weeks were chaotic. Local newspapers wanted interviews. My old art school asked me to speak at commencement. News of my win spread fast. I spent my days setting up my new life. I paid off my student loans. I paid off my parents' mortgage. I bought a better apartment with a real studio space and north-facing windows. I invested a large portion of the money. But mostly I painted. Vincent wanted 12 pieces for my solo exhibition. It had 6 months. That meant 2 paintings per month. The pressure was different now. Before I'd painted for myself. Now people were watching. Waiting. Collectors had already contacted Vincent. Galleries wanted to feature me. I had actual fans. Don't let it get to your head, Beatrice warned during one of our weekly dinners. You're still the same person. You're just being recognized now. I know. But it's weird. People care about my opinions now. Like I'm some kind of expert. You are an expert. You always were. People just finally noticed. But the attention made painting harder. I'd start a piece and immediately question it. Was it good enough? Would people understand it? Would they think I was a one-hit wonder? 3 months before my exhibition, I hit a wall. Everything I painted felt wrong. Forced. I scrapped 5 paintings in a row. Vincent called to check on my progress. I lied and said everything was going great. But after we hung up, I stared at my blank canvas and felt panic rising. What if I couldn't do this? What if winning had been a fluke? Nora showed up at my apartment that evening with Thai food and wine. We'd been slowly rebuilding our relationship, having lunch every few weeks. You look stressed, she said, unpacking containers. I'm fine. Liar. Talk to me. So I did. I told her about the pressure, the fear, the creative block. She listened without interrupting. You know what your problem is, she said when I finished. You're trying to be the artist people expect instead of the artist you are. What do you mean? When you painted Breaking Point, you weren't thinking about galleries or collectors. You were thinking about how you felt. You were painting for you. She poured us both more wine. So stop trying to please everyone else. Paint what you need to paint. Nora's advice stuck with me. That night, I stood in front of my canvas and asked myself what I actually wanted to paint. Not what would sell. What did I want to say? The answer came slowly. I wanted to paint about forgiveness. Not the easy kind where someone apologizes and everything goes back to normal. The hard kind, where you forgive someone knowing the relationship will never be the same. I started a new painting. Two figures facing each other across a divide. One reaching out, one turning away. But between them, a bridge was forming, made of light and shadow. The colors were softer than breaking point, blues and greens instead of reds and blacks. But the emotion was just as strong. This one flowed. I worked for hours, losing track of time. It wasn't until Beatrice called that I realized I'd been painting for 16 hours straight. "You need to take care of yourself," she scolded. She was right. I forced myself to take breaks. But the painting was good. I could feel it. Over the next 3 months, I finished the remaining pieces. Each one explored a different aspect of human relationships. Love, betrayal, reconciliation, growth. Vincent came to my studio to see them. He walked slowly from canvas to canvas, not saying anything. My stomach churned. Finally he turned to me, and his eyes were bright. "Grace, these are extraordinary. Better than I hoped." The solo exhibition was at a prestigious gallery in Chelsea. My name was on the promotional materials. Grace Holloway, Transformations. My first solo show. The opening night was packed. Collectors, critics, other artists, friends, family. I wore a dress I'd actually bought at a proper boutique, emerald green silk that made me feel confident. Nora arrived early with our entire family. Mom and Dad looked overwhelmed. Ka was already taking selfies. "This is amazing," Nora said, squeezing my hand. "I'm so proud of you, little sister. Thank you for pushing me to be better. By being cruel. By making me angry enough to stop caring what anyone else thought." Smiled. "Sometimes the best motivation comes from spite." She laughed, and it was real. Throughout the evening, people approached me. Some wanted to buy paintings. Others wanted to schedule commissions. Critics asked about my process. 3 of my paintings sold before the night was over. The prices made my head spin. Tens of thousands of dollars. Vincent told me we'd had inquiries about the rest, that he expected everything to sell within a month. "You're not a struggling artist anymore," he said. "You're established. This is your career now." I looked around the gallery at my work, at people studying my paintings, at my family beaming with pride. This was exactly what I wanted. 6 months after my exhibition, I was preparing for my next show in Los Angeles. Vincent had also secured shows in London and Tokyo. My work was traveling the world. My relationship with Nora had continued to improve. We had lunch every week now. She'd even started taking art classes herself, watercolors at a community center. She was terrible at it, but she enjoyed it. "I finally understand why you did this," she said one afternoon. "Why you stuck with it even when everyone told you to quit. There's something about creating something that didn't exist before. It's powerful. Welcome to the artist life." "Oh, I'm not quitting my day job," she laughed. "But I get it now. And I'm sorry I didn't get it before. We were both doing what we thought was right. You thought you were protecting me. I thought I was following my dreams. Neither of us was completely wrong." Kal had started showing interest in art too. He was considering art school. Mom and Dad supported him, learning from their mistakes with me. My coffee shop manager sent me a message congratulating me on my success. "I always knew you'd make it," he wrote, which was kind but untrue. Nobody had known. Not even me. I just hoped. A year after winning the Sterling competition, I was invited back as a judge. It felt surreal sitting on the other side, viewing submissions instead of making them. One submission stood out. A sculpture about mental health, raw and vulnerable and achingly honest. The artist was a 24-year-old student from a small town. No gallery representation, just pure talent and passion. "This one," I said during the judging session. "This artist deserves the prize." The other judges agreed. When we announced the winner, I watched the young artist's face crumble with relief and joy. I remembered that feeling. After the ceremony, the winner approached me, hands shaking. "Thank you. I've been following your work since you won. You inspired me to enter. My family didn't think I should waste the application fee." I smiled, recognizing the story. Let me give you some advice. The people who don't believe in you aren't trying to hurt you. They're scared for you. But that's their fear, not yours. Don't let it become yours. They nodded, wiping tears away. Did your family ever come around? Eventually. But by the time they did, I didn't need them to anymore. That's the secret. You create for yourself first. Everything else is extra. 2 years after my win, I bought a house. Not a mansion, but a real house with a yard and a dedicated studio space. My second solo exhibition had been even more successful than the first. Sold every piece. Collectors were now buying my work as investments. But I'd learned to manage the pressure. I painted what I wanted, trusted my instincts, and ignored trends. Some critics loved my work. Others didn't. That was okay. Nora helped me move into the new house, along with Beatrice, Kyle, and my parents. We spent the day unpacking boxes. Mom kept crying happy tears. Dad kept talking about how proud he was. Remember when you lived in that tiny apartment and ate ramen every night? Nora said, looking around the spacious kitchen. I remember you telling me I'd always live in tiny apartments eating ramen. She winced. Yeah. I was awful to you. You were scared for me. There's a difference. I handed her a glass of wine. Besides, if you hadn't pushed me, I might not have entered that competition. Sometimes anger is the best motivator. So you're saying I helped? I'm saying everything happened the way it needed to. I raised my glass. To transformation. The painful, messy, beautiful kind. We clinked glasses and I felt complete. 3 years after the competition, I was preparing for a major retrospective exhibition. The Sterling Foundation was showcasing my evolution as an artist. It would travel to galleries around the world. The night before the retrospective opened, I stood in my studio, looking at Breaking Point. It had been returned to me after years of traveling. It hung on my studio wall now, a reminder of where I'd come from. The figure caught mid-transformation didn't look painful to me anymore. It looked triumphant. My phone rang. Nora calling to wish me luck. You nervous? She asked. A little. This feels bigger than the competition somehow. Because it's not just one painting anymore. It's your whole career, your whole journey. I pause. I'm proud of you, Grace. You didn't just prove me wrong. You showed me what real courage looks like. After we hung up, I picked up my brush. I had one more painting to finish for the retrospective. I'd been working on it for months. It was a self-portrait, but not traditional. I painted myself as 2 figures. The person I'd been and the person I'd become. They weren't fighting. They were holding hands. The background was gold and crimson, the same colors from the phoenix wings in Breaking Point. But this time, the wings were fully formed, ready to fly. I titled it After the Breaking. The retrospective was a massive success. Critics called it a profound meditation on personal growth. Collectors fought over pieces. Museums inquired about acquisitions. But the best moment came during opening night. I stood in front of Breaking Point with Nora beside me. You know what I see now, Nora said quietly. Not someone breaking apart. Someone breaking free. That's exactly right. She squeezed my hand. Thank you for not giving up. Even when I told you to. Thank you for giving me something to prove wrong. We laughed and it was healing. That night, as I drove home in the red Audi with the top down and stars visible above, I thought about the girl who'd sat at that family dinner 3 years ago. The one who'd been told she was wasting her life. I wished I could tell her what I knew now. That the people who dismiss your dreams are usually scared of their own. That success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. That the breaking point isn't the end. It's just the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. Major collector interested in commissioning a piece. 6 figures. Interested. I smiled and typed back. Always. This was my life now. Not the fantasy Nora had mocked. This was real. I was a working artist with exhibitions and collectors and a career that would last as long as I kept creating. I'd been an artist all along. The competition didn't make me an artist. The money didn't make me an artist. I made myself an artist by refusing to quit. And as I pulled into my driveway, I finally understood what Beatrice had told me all those months ago in my tiny apartment. It wasn't about whether I won or lost. It was about finishing what I started. About being brave enough to try. I'd won the competition. I'd built the career. I'd bought the car and the house and proved everyone wrong. But the real victory was simpler. Kept painting.